Imagine you are sitting in traffic, running late for an important meeting. The car in front of you moves painfully slow, and frustration starts building inside you. Your grip on the steering wheel tightens. Your heart beats faster. Thoughts race through your mind. Why can't people just drive properly? Why does this always happen to you? The irritation turns into full-blown anger, and before you know it, your entire mood is ruined. Why does anger take control so easily? Why do small things have the power to disturb inner peace? Have you ever wondered why one moment of frustration can ruin an entire day? If anger is so destructive, why is it so hard to let go of? Think about a time when you snapped at someone in anger. Maybe it was a loved one, a friend, or even a stranger. In that moment, you felt justified, but later, did it really make things better? Or did it only bring regret? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore powerful Buddhist teachings to transform your mind and life. If you are tired of letting anger control you, stay with us until the end of this video. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. So, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. Anger feels like a fire inside, burning everything in its path. But what if the fire was never real? What if it was just an illusion created by the mind? Buddhism teaches that anger is not something that happens to you. It is something that arises within you. No one can truly make you angry. The world only presents situations. How you react is always your choice. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned." But if that's true, why do people still hold on to anger? The answer lies in misunderstanding. Most people believe anger is necessary, that it protects them, that it makes them strong. But in reality, it does the opposite. It weakens the mind, poisons the heart, and clouds judgment. Anger comes from attachment to how things should be. When life doesn't go as expected, frustration takes over. But expectations are never reality. The more tightly you hold on to them, the more suffering you create for yourself. Think of a clear lake. When the water is still, you can see your reflection. But if you throw a stone, ripples distort the image. This is what anger does to the mind. It distorts reality, making everything appear worse than it really is. If you act while angry, you are acting from a place of illusion, not truth. But how do you stop anger from taking control? The first step is awareness. Notice the moment anger arises. Don't fight it. Don't justify it, just observe it. When you bring awareness to your emotions, they lose their power over you. The second step is to pause. Before reacting, take a breath. The breath is a powerful tool in Buddhist practice. It brings you back to the present moment, back to clarity. A single deep breath can stop anger from controlling you. The third step is understanding. Ask yourself, is this anger helping me? Is it solving the problem? Or is it just making me suffer? The moment you realize anger serves no real purpose, you begin to let it go. In this video, we will explore powerful Buddhist wisdom to help you never get angry again, not by suppressing emotions, but by transforming the mind. Stay with us. This journey will change how you see anger forever. The illusion of control, letting go of expectations. You wake up in the morning, expecting a peaceful day, but then the coffee spills. The phone rings with bad news. Someone speaks to you in a harsh tone. Plans fall apart. Frustration rises. You feel like everything is working against you. Why does this happen? Why do things so often go wrong? The truth is, they are not going wrong. They are simply not going your way. And this is where suffering begins. Not in the world outside, but in the expectations within. A person walks into a garden and sees a rose blooming. They smile, appreciating its beauty. Another person walks in and sees the same rose, but notices a thorn. They frown, annoyed that the flower is not perfect. The flower has not changed. It is only the mind that changes. Anger often comes from a single thought. This should not be happening. But who decides how things should be? You may want the sun to shine, but the clouds do not care. You may wish for people to be kind, but they act as they do, not as you expect. The world moves by its own nature, not by your desires. Imagine you are holding sand in your hand. If you try to grip it tightly, it slips through your fingers. The more force you use, the more you lose. But if you keep your hand open, the sand remains. Life is the same. The tighter you hold on to expectations, the more suffering you create. A monk once sat by a river, watching the water flow. A traveler approached and asked, "Master, how do I find peace?" The monk smiled and pointed at the river. "Do you see how the water flows?" he asked. The traveler nodded. "It does not resist," the monk continued. "It moves with ease, not against the rocks, not against the wind. It accepts all and changes with the moment. Be like the river. You cannot control people. You cannot control the past. You cannot control the future. The more you try, the more anger you feel when life does not obey. A person who expects nothing is never disappointed. A person who accepts everything is never disturbed. But does this mean you should stop caring? No. It means you must see reality clearly. Wanting a sunny day is not wrong, but expecting it, demanding it, sets you up for frustration. Hoping for kindness is natural, but believing that people must be kind creates anger when they are not. Think of a tree in the wind. If it is rigid, it breaks. If it is flexible, it bends and survives. When things do not go your way, do not resist. Do not fight the wind. Breathe. Observe. Let it pass through you like a breeze, not a storm. People will say things you do not like. Situations will unfold in ways you do not expect. But the moment you stop thinking, "This should not be happening," you free yourself. You become untouchable. Anger is a reaction to unmet expectations. Remove the expectation, and there is nothing to react to. Does the sky get angry when the rain falls? Does the ocean resist the waves? Life is as it is. The only suffering comes from thinking it should be different. A great Zen master was once insulted by a man. The man shouted at him, trying to provoke a reaction, but the master only smiled. Confused, the man asked, "Why do you not respond? Are you not offended?" The master replied, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, who does the gift belong to? You do not have to accept anger. You do not have to accept frustration. They are offered to you by the world, but you always have a choice. You can take them, hold on to them, let them consume you. Or you can simply let them pass, untouched, like wind moving through an empty room. Today, something may happen that would have angered you yesterday. But today, pause. Observe your expectations. Ask yourself, am I suffering because of what is happening, or because I expected something different? If you can see the difference, you are already free. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Let everything else fade away. Do you feel that space between your thoughts? That stillness? That is where peace lives. But most people never find it because their minds are too loud. Anger, frustration, irritation, these emotions take over before they even realize it. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning feeling peaceful. The sun is shining, the air is fresh. You start your day with ease. But then, something small happens. Maybe you spill your coffee. Maybe someone says something rude. Maybe your phone dies at the worst possible moment. It's nothing major, but suddenly, your heart beats faster, your face feels warm, your mind starts spinning. Anger rises before you can stop it. Why does this happen? Why is it so easy to lose control? Most people think anger is just a reaction, something that happens naturally. But that's not true. Anger is a habit. It's a pattern the mind has learned over time. And just like any habit, it can be unlearned. The problem is, people don't notice their anger until it's already too late. By the time they feel it, they are already lost in it. But what if they could catch it earlier? What if they could see it coming before it takes over? That is what mindfulness teaches. Mindfulness means watching the mind without judgment. It means being aware of what is happening inside you, instead of being controlled by it. Think of the sky. The sky does not hold onto clouds. It does not try to stop the rain. It simply allows everything to pass. Your mind should be the same. Thoughts and emotions will come and go, but they don't have to control you. Let me tell you a story. A student once asked a Zen master, "How do I stop being angry?" The master handed him a cup and started pouring tea. The tea filled the cup, then spilled over, running onto the floor. "Master, stop," the student said. "The cup is full." The master smiled. "Your mind is like this cup. When it is full of anger, there is no space for peace. First, you must empty it." How do you empty the mind? Not by force, not by suppression, but by awareness. The moment you become aware of anger, it starts to lose its power. It no longer controls you. It becomes just another passing cloud in the sky of your mind. Think of a candle. When the wind blows, the flame flickers and shakes. But if you place the candle in a still room, the flame becomes steady. The mind is the same. If you let every small thing disturb you, your peace will always flicker like that flame. But if you create stillness inside, nothing can shake you. One breath. That's all it takes to create space between you and your anger. When you feel it rising, pause. Breathe in deeply. Feel the air entering your body. Hold it for a moment. Then breathe out slowly. In that single breath, something changes. The anger is still there, but now you are watching it instead of being trapped in it. Some people think mindfulness means doing nothing, but that is not true. It means seeing things as they really are. When you are mindful, you don't let emotions push you around. You don't react blindly. You respond with clarity. There is an old saying, when the mind is calm, the right action appears. When you are angry, you cannot see clearly. You say things you don't mean. You do things you later regret. But when you are mindful, you can choose your response. And that is real strength. Imagine a river after heavy rain. The water is muddy, rushing wildly. You cannot see the bottom. But if you wait, if you let the water settle, the mud sinks, and the river becomes clear again. This is how the mind works. When anger stirs it up, everything feels chaotic. But if you wait, if you breathe, if you observe, clarity returns. You do not have to fight anger. Fighting it only makes it stronger. Instead, you must understand it. Where does it come from? What triggers it? Is it really the world that makes you angry, or is it your own thoughts about the world? Most people think they need to change everything around them to feel at peace. They think if people were kinder, if the world was fairer, if life was easier, they would not feel anger. But peace does not come from changing the outside world. It comes from changing the way you see it. The Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Anger does not hurt the person you are angry at. It hurts you. It burns inside you, clouds your judgment, steals your peace. The only way to be free is to let it go. Letting go does not mean allowing injustice. It does not mean being weak. It means choosing wisdom over reaction. It means understanding that anger is a visitor, not a master. And when you master your mind, you master your life. The role of ego, dissolving the fire within. Come closer, sit with me for a moment. Let us talk about this thing that troubles you. The anger that rises so easily, the fire that burns within when things do not go your way. You may think it is the world that makes you angry, but I tell you, it is not the world. It is something much closer, much deeper. It is your ego. The ego is the voice inside that says, "I am right. I am important. I deserve better." It whispers, "They should not treat me this way. They should respect me. They should understand me." And when the world does not bend to its wishes, it reacts. It fights. It burns. Tell me, have you ever watched a child throw a tantrum? A toy is taken away, and suddenly the child screams, cries, stomps their feet. In their mind, the world has done something terrible. But to those watching, it is just a small thing. Do you see? This is what the ego does to adults. The world does not obey, and so the mind protests. It demands. It rages. But what if the child let go? What if they simply accepted that the toy is gone and moved on? The suffering would disappear instantly. The same is true for you. The anger is not caused by what happens. It is caused by the refusal to accept what is. The Buddha once told a story. A man is shot with an arrow. Instead of asking for help, he demands to know, who shot the arrow? What kind of wood is it made of? What kind of feathers does it have? He refuses treatment until he gets his answers. And so, he suffers longer than he needs to. This is what we do with anger. We hold on to it, asking, why did they do this? Why me? Why is life unfair? But none of these questions remove the arrow. None of them take away the pain. Let me ask you, who are you protecting with this anger? Your pride? Your sense of self? And if so, who is this self that needs protection? Is it the body? No, for the body will age, change, and disappear. Is it the mind? No, for the mind is never still, always shifting, always full of thoughts that come and go. The self that anger protects is nothing but an illusion, a fragile image built on beliefs and expectations. And when someone challenges that image, you react. You fight to defend something that was never real to begin with. Think of the ocean. When the wind blows, waves rise, crash, and disappear. But the ocean itself remains untouched. It does not cling to a single wave. It does not hold onto the storm. The ego, however, clings to everything. It collects insults, remembers past hurts, demands recognition. But what if you could be like the ocean? What if you could let the waves rise and fall without resistance? To dissolve anger, you must dissolve the ego. Not by force, not by fighting it, but by seeing it for what it is, a collection of thoughts, memories, and desires that come and go. When you stop feeding it, it loses its power. So the next time anger rises, do not react. Pause. Ask yourself, who is angry? Who is suffering? Look closely, and you will see that it is only the ego, crying out like a child. And just like a child, it will settle down if you do not give it attention. The world is not here to serve your desires. It is not here to protect your pride. It simply is. Accept this, and you will no longer feel attacked by it. Let go of the illusion of control, and the fire within will die out on its own. You do not need to fight anger. You only need to understand it. And once you do, it will lose its grip on you forever. Sit down for a moment. Breathe. Let the mind settle like still water. Now, tell me, why do you hold on to anger? Is it because you think it is justified? Do you believe it makes you strong? Or is it because you don't know any other way? Anger feels powerful, doesn't it? When someone hurts you, it rises like fire, making your heart race, your thoughts sharpen, your body tense. It feels like a shield, protecting you. But has it ever truly protected you? Or has it only burned everything in its path, including yourself? Now, consider something different, compassion. A word that seems soft, weak even. But tell me, which is harder? To react in anger or to respond with understanding? Which requires more strength? A person speaks harsh words to you. You feel the sting immediately. The mind rushes to defend itself. It searches for words, arguments, anything to strike back. But what if, for once, you did not react? What if you simply observed? Look at the person in front of you. Are they not suffering? Happy people do not go around hurting others. Only those who carry pain spread pain. So when someone lashes out at you, it is not truly about you. It is about them, their wounds, their struggles, their inner chaos spilling out. The next time someone speaks in anger, try this. Pause. See them not as an enemy, but as a being in pain. See beyond their words, beyond their emotions. What you are witnessing is suffering disguised as anger. Do not add your own suffering to it. Think of a mirror. If someone stands before it with anger, what do they see? Anger staring back at them. But what if the mirror remains still, unchanged? Sooner or later, the anger fades. It has nowhere to go. Be that mirror. Reflect nothing back. You may ask, but what if someone takes advantage of my kindness? What if they see my silence as weakness? Let me ask you, does a mountain tremble when the wind howls? Does the ocean dry up when a single stone is thrown? True strength is not in fighting. It is in standing firm, unmoved, untouched by the chaos around you. Now, think of a time you were angry. Truly angry. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe years ago. What happened to that anger? Where is it now? Did it solve anything? Or did it only bring regret? A wise person once said, "Do not let the actions of others disturb your inner peace." But how do you do that? By seeing clearly. By realizing that your reaction is always in your hands. No one makes you angry. They only present the situation. The choice is always yours. But I will tell you a secret. Anger and compassion cannot exist in the same moment. Try it. Think of someone who has hurt you. Now, instead of focusing on what they did, imagine their pain. Imagine their struggles. In that moment, do you feel anger? Or do you feel something else? A softness, a shift? That is compassion. That is understanding. And in that moment, the anger begins to lose its power. Buddhism teaches that everything is connected. Your anger does not just affect you. It affects everyone around you. A single moment of patience can prevent a lifetime of regret. A single act of kindness can break a chain of suffering. So what will you choose? Will you keep feeding the fire? Or will you let it die out, leaving only peace behind? The choice is yours. But remember, true strength is not in holding on. It is in letting go. The impermanence of emotions. Anger is temporary. Sit down for a moment. Close your eyes. Think about the last time you were truly angry. Not just annoyed, but deeply furious. Maybe someone betrayed you. Maybe someone insulted you. Maybe life felt unfair, and anger surged through your veins like fire. Now, think about this. Where is that anger now? Is it still with you? Or did it fade away, just like every other emotion you've ever felt? Everything in life changes. The sun rises, and then it sets. The seasons shift. The body grows, ages, and one day, it will be gone. Nothing stays the same, not even anger. Yet, when it appears, it feels like it will last forever. It takes over the mind, blinds the heart, and makes everything feel unbearable. But here is the truth. Anger is like a passing storm. It may seem powerful, but it is never permanent. Imagine standing in the rain, shivering, upset that the sky has turned dark. You shout at the clouds, demanding that the sun return. But no matter how much you resist, the storm will pass in its own time. Anger works the same way. The more you fight it, the longer it lingers. But if you simply observe it, without judgment, without reaction, it will fade on its own. Think about a child throwing a tantrum. They cry, scream, and stomp their feet. But after a while, they forget why they were upset. They move on. Why? Because they don't hold on to emotions the way adults do. They let them come and go, like waves on the ocean. But as we grow, we start to believe our emotions define us. I am angry. I am hurt. I am furious. We attach ourselves to feelings, and in doing so, we make them last longer than they need to. But emotions are not who you are. They are just visitors. They come, they stay for a while, and then they leave. The problem is not anger itself. The problem is that people identify with it. They hold on to it. They feed it with thoughts, with memories, with justifications. I was right to be angry. They shouldn't have done that to me. I will never forgive them. These thoughts keep the fire burning. But what happens when you stop feeding the fire? It burns out. The Buddha once said, "All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering." What does this mean? It means that when you truly understand that nothing lasts forever, not your anger, not your pain, not even your happiness, you stop clinging to emotions. You learn to let them flow through you, without resistance, without attachment. Imagine your mind as a river. When anger comes, it is like a leaf floating on the water. If you grab it, hold it, examine it, it stays with you. But if you let it float past, it disappears down the stream. This is the key to never being trapped by anger again. Let it come, but don't hold on to it. You might think, but what if someone wrongs me? What if I have a reason to be angry? Understand this. Anger does not fix the past. It does not heal wounds. It does not create justice. It only causes more suffering, for you and for others. A wise person does not waste time fighting a storm. They find shelter, wait, and watch as the clouds drift away. There is a story of a Zen master and a disciple. The disciple was angry, frustrated by the words of another monk. He went to the master and said, "I cannot stand him. Every time he speaks, my blood boils. How do I get rid of this anger?" The master smiled and said, "Bring me your anger." The disciple was confused. "What do you mean?" The master said, "You just told me it was inside you. Bring it here, show it to me." The disciple closed his eyes, searching for the anger. But as he did, something strange happened. It wasn't there anymore. The more he looked for it, the more it disappeared. The master laughed. "See, it is not real. It only exists when you hold on to it. This is the secret. Anger is not a thing you possess. It is an experience that comes and goes. The only way it can control you is if you believe in it, if you hold it close, if you let it define you. But if you watch it with awareness, it loses its power. The next time anger rises within you, don't fight it. Don't suppress it. Just observe. Where do you feel it in your body? Is it in your chest? Your hands? Your head? Notice how it moves, how it changes. And then ask yourself, is this feeling permanent? Will it last forever? The answer will always be no. A person who understands impermanence does not waste time on anger. They know that life is too short to be spent clinging to emotions that will pass on their own. They know that peace is found not by controlling the outside world, but by understanding the nature of the mind. So, the next time you feel anger rising, take a breath. Step back. Watch it like a cloud in the sky. And remember, just like every storm, it will pass. Silence. Stillness. These are not just words. They are the key to something most people spend their whole lives searching for, peace. Yet, in today's world, silence is rare. The mind is always running, always reacting, always searching for something to fight against. Anger is just one of its many reactions. But what if I told you that in silence and stillness, anger has no place? That it cannot exist in a mind that is truly at peace? Imagine a still pond on a quiet morning. The surface is smooth, untouched. It reflects the sky perfectly. But the moment a stone is thrown, Ripples spread across the water. The reflection disappears. This is what happens to the mind when anger enters. A single thought, a single reaction, and suddenly, the stillness is gone. Everything is disturbed. And just like the ripples in the pond, anger does not stay in one place. It spreads. It affects everything around it. But here is the truth. The pond never loses its stillness. Beneath the surface, the water remains calm. No matter how many stones are thrown, its depth is untouched. The same is true for the mind. Deep within you, there is a silence that anger can never reach. A stillness that is always present. You have simply forgotten how to find it. People believe that silence is weakness, that if they do not fight back, they will be defeated. But silence is not about surrender. It is about power. The power to choose peace over chaos. To let go of what does not serve you. To remain steady, even when the world around you is shaking. When someone insults you, your first instinct is to respond, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But what happens when you do? You invite their words into your mind. You give them a home. You let them control your peace. Buddha once said, if someone gives you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? Anger works the same way. If someone throws anger at you and you do not take it, it remains with them. It does not touch you. It does not disturb your peace. But the moment you react, you have accepted their anger. You have made it your own. And now, it lives within you. Stillness is not about ignoring what happens around you. It is about understanding that not everything deserves your reaction. Some things are like passing clouds. They come and go. You do not need to chase them. You do not need to hold on to them. You simply let them pass. The greatest warriors in history did not fight every battle. They chose when to act and when to remain still. They knew that reacting to every small attack was a waste of energy. The same is true in life. Not every comment, not every situation, not every mistake needs your anger. Some things are not worth disturbing your peace for. A tree does not fight the wind. It bends, it moves, but it does not break. The deeper its roots, the stronger it stands. And when the storm is over, it is still there. Silent, still, unshaken. This is how you must be. Let the winds of anger pass through you, but do not let them uproot you. Do not let them take away your silence. People say, I cannot control my anger. It just happens. But this is not true. Have you ever been angry, only to suddenly stop when the situation changes? Imagine arguing with someone when suddenly your phone rings. You pick it up and your voice changes. Your tone softens. The anger disappears in an instant. If anger was uncontrollable, this would not be possible. But it is. You are only controlled by anger because you believe you have no choice. But you do. The next time anger rises, do not react. Do not speak. Do not move. Just pause. Be still. Let the emotion pass through you, like wind through an open window. Observe it, but do not become it. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is where wisdom is found. It is where true strength lies. In a world full of noise, full of reaction, full of anger, silence is your greatest weapon. And in silence, you will find the peace you have been looking for all along. Transforming anger into wisdom, lessons from the Buddha. Sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe. Now, think of the last time you felt anger take over. Maybe someone insulted you. Maybe a situation didn't go your way. Maybe the past came back to haunt you. At that moment, it felt justified, didn't it? It felt like you had to react, had to fight back. But now, looking back, was it worth it? Did anger fix anything? Or did it only steal your peace? The Buddha understood anger deeply. He saw it not as strength, but as a form of suffering. He taught that anger is not something to be feared or suppressed, but something to be understood. And once understood, it can be transformed into wisdom. But how? First, look at anger as a teacher, not an enemy. Every time you feel anger, it is telling you something about yourself. Maybe it is showing you where you are still attached. Maybe it is revealing a fear hidden deep inside. Maybe it is reminding you of a wound you haven't healed yet. Instead of fighting anger, ask it, what are you trying to teach me? The answer might surprise you. A Zen story speaks of a samurai who came to a monk and asked, teach me about heaven and hell. The monk looked at him and said, you are nothing but a fool. You are not worthy of such teaching. The samurai's face turned red with rage. He grabbed his sword, ready to strike the monk down. But before he could, the monk calmly said, that is hell. The samurai froze. In that moment, he understood. He put his sword away, bowed deeply, and thanked the monk. The monk smiled and said, "And that is heaven. Anger creates hell. Understanding destroys it. Every time you react with anger, you are choosing suffering. Every time you respond with wisdom, you are choosing peace. The choice is always yours. But wisdom does not come instantly. It takes practice. It takes awareness. The next time anger rises within you, do not act immediately. Pause. Observe it. Where is it coming from? What is it feeding on? See it clearly, and you will see that it has no real power. It is like a storm in the sky, strong, loud, destructive, but temporary. No storm lasts forever. Think of a candle in the wind. If the wind is strong, the flame will flicker and die. But if the wind is calm, the flame will burn steadily. Your mind is the same. When anger controls you, your inner flame weakens. But when you remain steady, when you do not let anger shake you, your light continues to shine. There is a simple practice that can help. The next time someone says something that upsets you, do not react immediately. Instead, take a deep breath and count to 3. Just 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, you give yourself space. You give yourself control. And in that space, you will see the truth. This anger is not necessary. This reaction is not needed. You are free. A wise monk once said, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" The answer is simple. It still belongs to the giver. The same is true for anger. If someone insults you, but you do not accept their anger, it still belongs to them. It does not become yours unless you take it. So why take it? Let it go. But some might ask, if I do not get angry, won't people walk all over me? This is a misunderstanding. Wisdom is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. The strongest person is not the one who fights, but the one who does not need to fight. The Buddha himself was insulted many times, but he never reacted with anger. Instead, he responded with understanding. And in that understanding, his power was unshakable. Imagine a still pond. If you throw a stone into it, ripples spread out, disturbing the surface. But if the pond is deep and undisturbed, no stone can change its calmness. Be like that pond. Let insults, frustrations, and problems come, but do not let them disturb your depth. One day, a man came to the Buddha, furious. He shouted, insulted him, tried to provoke him, but the Buddha sat in silence. Finally, the man asked, "Why do you not react?" The Buddha smiled and said, "If someone brings you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man understood, and in that moment, his anger disappeared. Anger is like a matchstick. It burns brightly for a moment, then turns to ash. But wisdom is like the sun. It shines endlessly, giving warmth and light. Why live like a matchstick when you can live like the sun? So remember, anger is not your enemy. It is your teacher, but only if you are willing to listen. And if you listen closely, you will find that anger has nothing to teach. Only silence, only peace. The strength of patience, enduring without resentment. Sit down, breathe, feel this moment. There is no rush, no urgency, no battle to fight. Just this breath, just this space. Yet, how often do people resist patience? They want things to happen now. They want people to understand them now. They want life to go their way now. And when it doesn't, frustration rises. Anger follows. The mind burns with irritation. But patience is strength. It is not weakness. It is not passiveness. It is the deepest kind of power. It is the ability to endure without resentment, to wait without suffering, to stay calm when everything around you is chaotic. Think of a tree standing in a storm. The wind pushes against it. The rain beats down, but the tree does not fight the storm. It bends. It sways. It lets the storm pass. And when the sky clears, the tree is still there, stronger than before. This is patience. When someone insults you, what happens inside? The mind reacts. The ego flares up. Words rise to the tongue, ready to strike back. But why? What do you gain from reacting? The words of others have no real weight unless you choose to carry them. If you respond with anger, you only add fuel to the fire. But if you remain calm, the fire dies on its own. Patience is not about waiting. It is about how you wait. You can wait with anger, with frustration, with resentment. Or you can wait with peace, with understanding, with acceptance. The choice is always yours. People say, "I can't control my anger. It happens too fast." But is that true? Look deeper. Anger is not an explosion. It is a buildup, a process, a reaction that takes shape in stages. First, there is discomfort, then irritation, then frustration, and finally anger. But in every stage, there is a moment, a single moment, where you can stop, where you can pause, where you can choose a different path. When a pot of water is heating on the stove, does it boil instantly? No, the heat rises slowly. It takes time. But if you remove the pot from the fire, it never reaches the boiling point. Your anger is the same. If you notice the heat rising, you can step back. You can breathe. You can let go before the boil begins. Have you ever seen a river carve through stone? It does not do so with force. It does not break the rock in a single moment. It moves with patience, with persistence, and over time, it shapes the hardest surface into something smooth, something beautiful. This is the power of patience. It transforms everything. But people fear patience. They think, if I do nothing, I will be weak. People will walk over me. This is not true. Patience does not mean accepting injustice. It does not mean allowing harm. It means acting with wisdom, responding with clarity, speaking with strength, but without rage. The Buddha once told a story. A man came to him, shouting in anger, insulting him. The Buddha listened, but he did not react. The man grew even more frustrated. He said, "Why don't you say something? Why don't you defend yourself?" The Buddha smiled and asked, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not take it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha nodded. "Then why should I accept your anger? It belongs to you, not me." This is patience, the ability to stand firm, not because you are weak, but because you refuse to let the poison of others enter your heart. Look at your own life. How many times has impatience led you to regret? How many words have you spoken in anger, only to wish you could take them back? How many moments of frustration have stolen your peace? Now, imagine a different way. Imagine watching anger rise, but not letting it take control. Imagine hearing an insult, but not feeling the need to respond. Imagine facing difficulties, but remaining calm. This is the gift of patience. And patience is not something you are born with. It is something you build. Like a muscle, like a skill. You train it, day by day, moment by moment. When you feel irritation, pause. When frustration rises, breathe. When anger knocks on your door, do not answer. With time, you will see, what once triggered you will no longer have power over you. And in that moment, you will realize, true strength is not in force, not in rage, not in fighting. It is in the stillness, in the quiet confidence of a patient heart. Non-attachment, freeing yourself from emotional chains. You hold on to things too tightly. You may not realize it, but you do. A word spoken against you, a mistake made long ago, an expectation that life did not meet. All these things, small and big, stay in your mind, circling like restless birds. You replay them again and again, feeling the same anger, the same frustration, the same pain. And yet, what changes? Nothing. Imagine carrying a heavy rock everywhere you go. It slows you down. It drains your energy. It makes even the simplest task difficult. You tell yourself that you must carry it, that it is important, that letting it go would mean defeat. But in truth, the rock serves no purpose. It only makes life harder. This is how attachment works. You hold on to things that do not serve you, and in doing so, you suffer. Non-attachment is not about not caring. It is about being free. Free from the control of your emotions, free from the weight of expectations, free from the constant push and pull of the world. It means living fully in the present, without being trapped by what has been or what should be. Anger thrives on attachment. When you believe something must happen a certain way, you create the conditions for frustration. When you expect people to treat you in a specific way, you open the door to disappointment. When you insist that life be fair, you invite resentment. The more rigid your mind, the more easily you break. Think of a tree in a storm. The stiff, unbending tree is the first to snap. But the tree that sways with the wind, that moves without resistance, survives. Life will not always go as you wish. People will not always act as you expect. Circumstances will change, sometimes without warning. If you resist, you suffer. If you let go, you flow with life instead of fighting against it. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from clinging. Clinging to ideas, to desires, to identities, to control. You say, "This is mine." This is how things should be. This is who I am. But these things are not solid. They shift, they change, they disappear. When you base your peace on something unstable, you make yourself unstable too. Consider this. If someone insults you, why do you get angry? Because you take ownership of the words. You believe they are about you. But what if you did not? What if you saw them as nothing more than sounds in the air, passing by like the wind? The words would have no weight. They would mean nothing. It is only when you grasp them, when you hold them close, that they become painful. Anger fades when there is nothing for it to cling to. But you must train yourself to let go. The mind is used to grasping, used to reacting. You must watch it carefully. You must see when attachment starts, when expectations rise, when resistance builds. And in that moment, instead of tightening your grip, you must release. A person once came to the Buddha, furious and shouting. He insulted him, challenged him, did everything to provoke a reaction. But the Buddha simply sat in silence. After a while, the man grew frustrated. "Why do you not respond?" he asked. The Buddha smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man thought for a moment. "To the one who offered it," he replied. "Exactly," said the Buddha. "And so it is with anger. If I do not accept it, it remains with the one who brings it. This is non-attachment. It is not weakness. It is not indifference. It is strength. It is freedom. It is understanding that you are not bound to react to everything that happens around you. You are not a puppet, controlled by the words and actions of others. You are not a prisoner of your emotions. You are the master of your mind. But mastery takes practice. Every day, life will test you. A rude stranger, a difficult situation, an unfair moment. Will you react as you always have? Or will you take a breath, step back, and choose peace instead? There is great power in letting go. The power to walk away from arguments that lead nowhere. The power to remain calm when others lose control. The power to live without resentment, without frustration, without the chains of anger weighing you down. Let go, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to be free. Forgiveness is freedom. Many people think forgiving means letting someone escape punishment, but that is not true. Forgiveness is not for others, it is for yourself. When you hold on to anger, it is like carrying a heavy stone in your heart. Every time you think about what someone did to you, that stone gets heavier. You replay the past, over and over, feeding the pain. But ask yourself, who is really suffering? The person who hurt you may not even remember what they did, but you are still carrying the weight. Buddhism teaches that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You may think your anger punishes them, but it only destroys your peace. You lose sleep, your thoughts become bitter, and joy disappears from your life. Is this the life you want? Some people say, "I will forgive, but I will never forget." But what does that really mean? Does it mean you are still holding on to the pain? True forgiveness does not mean you erase what happened. It means you choose not to suffer because of it anymore. It means you let go of the story that plays in your mind. It means you stop letting the past control your future. Imagine a man walking through the forest. He is carrying a heavy bag full of stones. Each stone represents a grudge, a painful memory, a betrayal. With every step, the bag gets heavier, but he refuses to let go. He says, "These stones remind me of what I have suffered. I cannot drop them." But because of this, his journey is slow and painful. Then he meets a wise old monk who tells him, "Why are you carrying these stones? Drop them, and you will walk freely." The man hesitates. He has carried them for so long. But finally, he lets go. For the first time in years, he feels light. This is what forgiveness does. It does not mean the past disappears. It means you are no longer weighed down by it. It means you are free. You may ask, but what if someone hurt me deeply? What if they don't deserve forgiveness? This is an important question. Forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to hurt you again. It does not mean pretending their actions were right. It means you refuse to let their actions steal your peace. It means you choose healing over suffering. Think of the Buddha. He was insulted, threatened, even physically harmed, but he never held on to anger. He understood that people act based on their own ignorance, their own suffering. When someone hurts you, it is not because they are strong. It is because they are weak. They are lost in their own pain. If you understand this, forgiveness becomes easier. Some people wait for an apology before they forgive. But what if the apology never comes? Will you stay trapped in anger forever? Will you let someone's mistake control your happiness? Forgiveness is not about them. It is about your freedom. Imagine a burning house. Would you stay inside, waiting for the fire to go out on its own? Or would you walk away and save yourself? Holding on to anger is staying inside the burning house. Forgiveness is walking away. Letting go does not mean weakness. It is the greatest strength. Anyone can hold on to anger. It takes true wisdom to release it. Now, take a moment. Think of someone you have not forgiven. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed you, a family member who hurt you, a stranger who wronged you. Ask yourself, how much longer will you carry this pain? Breathe deeply. Feel the weight of your anger. Then, with your next breath, imagine letting it go. You do not need to carry it anymore. You are free. Mastering emotional balance. A life without anger. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe. Feel the air entering your lungs, the stillness settling in your mind. This is peace, not something you search for outside, but something that has always been within you. You have walked this journey, step by step, learning to understand anger, to let it go, to transform it. And now, as we come to the final lesson, the question is, can you live a life without anger? People believe anger is natural, even necessary. They think it protects them, gives them strength, keeps them from being weak. But look deeper. Has anger ever truly helped you? Has it ever made you happy? Or has it only drained you, left you with regrets, made you say words you wish you could take back? When someone insults you, your first reaction is to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to fight back. But why? Words are just sounds in the air. They only have power if you hold on to them. Imagine someone throwing a burning coal at you. You have two choices. You can catch it and burn yourself, or you can let it fall to the ground. Which one is wiser? Some people will say, but if I do nothing, won't I look weak? No, true strength is not in reacting, but in remaining unshaken. The tree does not fight the wind. It bends and lets it pass. The mountain does not argue with the storm. It stands unmoved. When you are at peace within, nothing outside can disturb you. The Buddha once said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Think about this. If someone is drowning in a river, do you push them down further, or do you reach out a hand? Anger is drowning. Those who lash out are suffering. If you meet their anger with more anger, you both sink. But if you meet it with understanding, you rise above it. You may ask, but what if someone truly wrongs me? What if they betray me, hurt me, do something unforgivable? The answer is simple. Anger will not undo it. Holding on to pain will not heal you. You do not forgive for their sake. You forgive for yours. You release the burden, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Think of a clear sky. Anger is like a passing storm. If you hold on to it, you live under clouds forever. But if you let it pass, the sky returns to its natural state, vast, open, peaceful. Your mind is the same. Peace is not something you create. It is something you uncover by letting go of everything that covers it. There will always be difficult people. There will always be moments that test you. But the question is, will you let them control your peace? If a stranger on the street yells at you, does it change who you are? If someone disrespects you, does it take away your wisdom? No. Nothing outside can take away what is within you unless you give it permission. So, what is the secret to never getting angry again? It is simple. Do not take anything personally. What people say, what they do, it is a reflection of them, not you. If someone is unkind, it is their own suffering speaking. If someone is impatient, it is their own restless mind. Do not let their chaos become yours. And now, as we come to the end, I ask you, will you carry this wisdom with you? Or will you leave it here and return to old habits? The choice is always yours. Every moment, every breath, you decide. Peace or anger, clarity or confusion, freedom or chains. What will you choose? There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. If this wisdom has helped you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And tell us, what was the most powerful lesson for you? Your thoughts matter. Your journey matters. Thank you for walking this path with us. The path to unshakable peace. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the rhythm of your breath, the gentle rise and fall of your chest. This is where true peace begins, not outside, not in others, but within. Throughout this journey, you have learned to observe your emotions, to detach from anger, to remain steady like a mountain in the face of storms. But now, we take one final step, a step beyond mere control, beyond suppression, beyond avoidance. This is the step into true inner mastery. Many believe that controlling anger means holding it in, burying it deep, or pretending it does not exist. But repression is not wisdom. A volcano that is sealed at the surface will only erupt with greater force later. To truly free yourself, you must not suppress anger. You must understand it. Imagine walking through a dense forest. The trees are thick, the path unclear. This is how most people experience their emotions, lost in them, unable to see beyond. But imagine now that you rise above the trees. From above, you can see the entire landscape. You understand where the path leads, where the dangers lie, where the open fields begin. This is the difference between reacting to anger and seeing anger with wisdom. Ask yourself, where does anger come from? Does it appear out of nowhere? No, it has a root. Perhaps it begins with an expectation. Someone should treat you a certain way. Things should go according to plan. People should understand you. And when reality does not match your expectations, frustration arises. That frustration, when fed, becomes anger. Now, look deeper. Who created the expectation? Was it reality, or was it your own mind? The world is as it is, but the mind tells stories. The mind says, they should respect me, this should not have happened, life should be fair. But life does not operate according to our personal desires. The sun does not rise because we wish it to. The seasons do not change on our command. The more you attach to your shoulds and musts, the more suffering you create for yourself. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment, not only to material things, but to ideas, opinions, identities. Anger is born when we hold tightly to an idea of how things should be. But if we loosen our grip, if we let go of the illusion of control, what happens? Peace. Think about a clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more tension you create. The more you try to force life to match your desires, the more you suffer. But open the hand, and suddenly, there is ease. This is the way of non-attachment. This is the way of freedom from anger. Some will say, but if I let go of anger, won't people take advantage of me? Won't I become weak? No. True power is not in aggression, but in presence. Think of the strongest figures in history. The Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, the Dalai Lama. Were they weak? No. Their power came not from reacting, but from being unshakable. A calm mind sees solutions where an angry mind sees only conflict. You have probably noticed that when you are angry, your mind becomes small. You focus on one thought, one situation, one person who wronged you. But when you step back, when you calm down, suddenly, the world is vast again. Anger is a narrow prison. Peace is an open sky. Now, ask yourself, who suffers most when I hold on to anger? The person you are angry at? Or you? Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only harms you. So why hold on? Why cling to something that burns you from the inside? Some will say, I cannot help it. Anger just comes. But this is not true. Anger comes because it is fed. It is a fire. And every time you replay a memory, every time you justify your frustration, every time you tell yourself, I was right, they were wrong, you throw more fuel into the flames. Stop feeding the fire, and it will die. So how do you do this? By watching it, by being still, by refusing to react. The next time anger arises, do not speak, do not act. Simply observe. Feel its energy. Watch how it rises and falls, like waves on the ocean. The moment you watch it with detachment, you take away its power. A Zen master was once insulted by a man. The master simply smiled. Did you not hear me? The man said, growing angrier. The master replied, if someone offers me a gift, but I do not accept it, who does the gift belong to? The man was silent. The master continued, I do not accept your anger. It remains with you. This is wisdom. You do not have to accept other people's negativity. You do not have to react. You do not have to allow anger to enter your heart. You can choose peace. And now, as we come to the close, I ask you, will you carry this with you? Will you apply it to your daily life? Will you make the commitment to never let anger rule you again? The choice is always in your hands. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. If this wisdom has helped you, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And tell us, What was the most powerful lesson for you? Your thoughts matter. Your journey matters. Thank you for walking this path with us.